George, it is good to see you, my friend. How are you this week?
Chris, doing great, man. Glad to see you again and have this opportunity to do this little podcast. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Me too. I told a few of my friends that you and I were meeting today. They're big basketball fans and they were looking up your story and they were like, "Oh man, you gotta do can't wait to hear the podcast with George." I was like, "Yeah, we'll get it out here soon."
Yeah.
But no, man, George, it is such a pleasure to talk with you. Your story is incredible, and I've actually got your book here. Um, Catch as Catch Can: Building a Legacy by Finding Opportunity in Every Obstacle. And man, you got a pretty incredible story, and there's a lot to it, and I'll let you dive into it. But when I first looked up your pro I just looked you up on LinkedIn at first glance. And I was like, man, George has done a lot of things. He's owned franchises, played ball, he's a speaker, he's an author, he coaches people. Um, but when I dug more into your background, I learned how a lot of things you accomplished. It took a lot of hard work and you went through a lot of obstacles. And so just for people who don't know, your story, tell us a little bit about like how you grew up and just kind of like your progression in life to where you're at now.
Well, Chris, it's an honor to be a part of your podcast here, and I tell you, the motivation for me to do the book was one of sharing with others, to let others know that no matter where you start in life, that doesn't mean that that's going to be where you end up. That we all have an opportunity. It's not easy. You have to work hard. You have to be dedicated to doing it, and you have to have the blessings from the good Lord up above. Number one, primary, and certainly work towards giving back and acknowledging those who have helped you along the way, because none of us at whatever success level you attain, are you able to do it on your own? Excuse me. So, and with my life story, I have really three families. The family who raised me, and maybe even four, but uh, once I got married, decided to, and encouraged by my wife to find my real mother and father, and so there came two additional families because they had their own separate lives. So all that being said, it was truly a blessing, to have been able to accomplish the things that my wife and I, my son, and my daughter have been able to do over the years. So uh, diving into the story, which begins back in Louisville, Kentucky, uh, which is where I was born. My The story goes, and I don't know today at my 78th year of life. Don't know today what the real facts are, because those people that were around are no longer around.
Yeah.
And, I only go off of what I was told and what I put together, as I did my own research. But, I was told my mother left me as a babysitter. There was a lady in the neighborhood who was a babysitter, and my mother was planning on going to work, and she left me with the babysitter. And I think one of the trips she decided to go out of town, and so as my mother, the lady who raised me, I call her Mama, told me that she didn't come back. And so, let me be clear, this was told to me after the mother who raised me, the lady who raised me, after she was deceased.
Yeah.
So, because at that time is when she died, I was age 13. I really had never seen my birth certificate and didn't understand. Uh, I never really inquired to the depth of birth certificates or any documentation. I
Yeah.
always just took the word of the lady who raised me, and she loved me and did the best she could to take care of me. So, I was happy, in the situation. So that's how it all kind of started out, and through growing up in tough neighborhoods, east end of Louisville, Kentucky, and then the smoke town of Louisville, Kentucky. Those are the neighborhoods and the people in those neighborhoods that help form, along with the church, Green Street Baptist Church, which I attended, helped form my character and the people in the neighborhood, the caring people, especially the women in the neighborhood, the mothers. Who showed a lot of interest and guidance and took time to talk to me. Integration came along in the fourth grade, and so the black school that I was going to closed down, and I was moved to a white school where we all had all the blacks coming into the school had and I'm going to say I say blacks, but there could have been others that had to
Yeah.
take tests to see where you were within the educational programs, and so I was moved back a year in school, and I don't think those teachers at that school were very happy with all these kids coming into the school, and so um, we ran into a few obstacles. My biggest challenge was that one of my teachers, and name was Miss Warren, which I mentioned in the book.
Yeah.
She's no longer around, so but I mentioned that she called me up one day and said, George, why don't you just quit school? You're not going to make it. And she may have been justified in some way because because of my shortcomings, I was kind of a class cut up, not bad stuff, but, giggling, immature stuff. And but when she said that, it got my attention. One, that I didn't know what she meant by that, whether she was going to put me out, they were going to put me out or what, but I love school. So I had to somewhat change my approach to, going to school and getting quality education. So following year, seventh grade year, my uh, seventh grade teacher, her name was Miss Howell. She's still living today. She took a great interest in me and provided um, self-esteem, giving me a job to do as long as I did the things that I was supposed to do in the classroom and didn't cut up and got decent grades. It wasn't I didn't have to have A's, but as long as I was getting good grades. And she saw as how it was, I'd become interested in athletics. Always went to the gym versus going to the lunchroom because I wasn't too happy about having those little free lunch tickets. So I would go to the gym and just shoot around and play sports there because some other kids were there too. And so she started taking interest in me and provided that job of being a projector guy who would go around to classrooms and set up movies and so forth, and understand if the projector broke, how to fix it and fix the film. And that was back in the days of the reel-to-reel
Yeah.
films. Well, anyway, that's where the story, Chris, got started. Is how I got started, and like anybody, when you have success, you kind of build off of that success, and that was I think the game changer for me, becoming a athlete, or understanding that I had skills, and and the significance of belonging and doing something that I was proud of, that was related to education. And so I'd say that's what really got me off the ground.
And did you play other sports besides basketball, or was
I did a little.
basketball?
I did everything,
Yeah,
every sport that you could do that didn't cost money.
yeah,
Uh, I was involved in football, basketball, track, cross country. You name it, whatever the school was doing from an athletic standpoint. I got involved, and in the neighborhoods even more so. Excuse me, because that was year round, and the bigger guys wanted me to participate because I was tall,
yeah.
and so they wanted me to participate for rebounding purposes and those kinds of things. So yeah, I was involved in everything. It wasn't until high school that it was a point of you got to have good grades, passing and so forth. That threw another part in there, and the competition obviously got a lot better. So, in my early years were not organized coaching experience. It was just street ball
Yeah.
and intramural in the school. We didn't have a junior high school basketball team. Some of the guys would get together. We'd go play the boys club and so forth. So.
Yeah. No, when did you, I guess, determine that basketball was going to be your path, to college and play professionally, but while playing those other sports, when did it become apparent that, hey, basketball is my best one, I'm gonna stick with that?
Well, I really when I moved to Smoketown and the neighborhood, the one block that I lived in, there were guys that lived in that one 900 blocks South Jackson that were going to college, and I never even heard of or even thought about college until I moved in there and I saw how they carried themselves and the recognition, how people felt about them. Being we had one guy that just graduated from college. In my, I say I was a sophomore in high school, maybe even ninth grade, but he just graduated from college and was going to become a school teacher right down the street. So which I thought was really big. And then there was another family where the sons all played high school ball, and they had these jackets with the letters on them, and it was a big thing. So yeah, that's when I decided I wanted to do whatever I could do. Of course, basketball was my number one sport, but track I was pretty doggone good at track also, and football, I thought I was good, but I found out real quick that wasn't my sport, and so baseball, softball, all of it. But I chose what happened in high school. Once I got to high school, the basketball coach let me know that that was what he wanted me for, to play basketball. The other coaches were more football coaches, and so the track coach, he was grabbing anybody that was left
Yeah.
over, anybody that got cut off any team, he was grabbing to participate on the track team. So,
Yeah.
but I tried out for football and uh, uh, got released from football, and so right away the track coach picked me up, and I ran
Yeah.
cross country, and did a pretty good job as a sophomore. Was one of the top 5, 6 guys on the cross country team, and then of course
Mhm.
basketball practice started, and that helped me as far as
Yeah.
basketball because I was in pretty decent condition once it started. So but basketball, started out, I wasn't a starter at the beginning of the year. First couple of games I got in, and then I started. And as a starter, as a sophomore on our team, which was the school I went to, is one of the top schools in the state. So that really, vaulted me into big time in the neighborhood
Yeah.
and so forth. So I was the only kid in the area that was starting on the varsity for that team in my area I lived in. So I was, a pretty big shot then.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
so that's
and did
when
good enough
I
to
felt
go.
that was going to be my number one sport. But as far as college is concerned, I never really No one in my family had gone to college. Nobody had even gone to high school. Be honest about it. So I was the first one in high school, and when you speak in terms of going to college, that was a whole new something that no one even understood.
Yeah.
When I did get a chance to go, and came to sign me up. It was big time.
Yeah. Yeah. And you ended up having an incredible college career.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I went to college. I went to college where Kentucky Wesleyan College is a D2 college, but D2 school was schools were offering 4 year. You know, you could start at 4 years, and also a lot of the minorities who weren't recruited by University of Louisville or University of Kentucky and some of the other bigger schools, they weren't giving out a lot of scholarships to black athletes. And so they were just a few that they were giving them to the tops, the top players. And so, excuse me, the Kentucky Wesleyan, the head coach there had been a head coach at the high school, and he recruited me out of junior high school, but he left before I got to high school the year before.
Yeah.
So, and then there was another guy on my team in high school who a year ahead of me. He was there, so that opened the door for me, and it wasn't that far away from home, and so once getting there, I realized that I was could compete with the best, and I started as a
That's right.
freshman, and we won the national championship that first year. And as a matter of fact, that championship game, we only played 5 players the whole game, and
Yeah.
so I was one of those 5. So I right away I had excelled to a pretty high level.
Yeah. That's incredible. And did so well. And correct me, you ended up getting drafted by the Chicago Bulls, correct?
Yes.
And played professional ball for a few years
Yes, I got drafted by both the ABA and the NBA. Those and that
when they were
in that
separate.
period of time frame, there were 2 leagues, ABA and the NBA, and so they were competitive. So ABA was tossing out money, where the NBA you had to go through 4 or 5 camps. But just backing up a little bit, just a little more about the story. In college, we won three national championships my freshman, my junior, my senior year. We actually had the best team that we had was my sophomore year. We had out that sophomore team, we had 3 guys that were all Americans, and went on to play pro ball, which would include myself as the third one. But we really had a great team then. But I got sick, unfortunately, in the finals, and so we lost to Earl Monroe, who had a heck of a career. Played Winston-Salem, so they beat us. But I always tell my teammates if I'd played, we'd won that one. So
You
we
would have
could have
won
won
that year too.
or championship. Those teams are up for Naismith Hall of Fame in the Veterans Committee. So
Yeah.
hopefully one day we might make it. But Wesleyan, it was just great for a kid like me. It was a small school. You got close to your professors and so forth, and I was able to make academic do extremely well academically after my first year. First year, I almost flunked out because I was doing what everybody else, all the other guys were doing.
Like
So
every
my
freshman.
class, yeah, my class, the 6 guys that came in, all 6 of us graduated. So we turned that or were around where a lot of guys were dropping out of school. But anyway, long story short, won a number of different academic awards and community college community awards and so forth, and then got drafted. Well, as a matter of fact, I actually had opportunity to try out for the '68 Olympic team, and which no small college kid had ever made. The Olympic team during that time, it was Hank Iba. So, but we did get to try out, and I would think I was averaging 27, 30 points a game, and busted up my ankle. So, that cut my chances of making the team. I don't know if I would have made it anyway, but that was year Spencer Haywood made it out of junior college. He was a junior college, so he made it that year, and So got drafted by the Oakland Oaks in the ABA and the Chicago Bulls in the NBA, and I chose the Oaks because they offered me a $10,000 signing bonus and 25,000 for the first year. Oakland, I mean Chicago didn't offer anything, and
Yeah,
plus Windy City of Chicago versus Oakland, California,
yeah.
wasn't too much of a hard choice.
No brainer.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, talk. So, you played for a few years, and then that's when you transitioned to really start your professional career outside of basketball.
Yeah.
And that's where you did some really incredible things. Going to work corporate at KFC, becoming a franchise owner, and remind me, how many franchises did you end up owning at one point?
Well, as far as actual franchises that we actually had was like 12 different brands that we had
That's right.
under our belt. It was at any particular time. Now I worked for KFC for 8 years. And then after those 8 years, I got the opportunity to become a franchisee, starting off with one store to 12 stores, KFC. Then we got a chance to become Friday's franchisee in the Tampa airport. And that's when we started growing with different brands and so forth. And the way that works is if you're in an airport environment, you can have a number of different brands where if you're on the street, you can't do that because most franchisors want you to be strictly their brand, and also they don't want you if you're selling chicken at Wendy's. KFC doesn't want you as a franchisee selling chicken. So it's an airport, which is a different environment, and it's a marketing opportunity for most brands. They usually will allow you to do that. Don't like it, but they'll usually allow you to
Yeah,
do it. So, but my career, right after playing pro ball when I got cut, I just got married as well. I was a school teacher, coach for 3 years, and then did a little event coordinating. We had Elvis Presley and ZZ Top and all those guys at Kentucky Fair and Exposition Center. Then I started with KFC as a training instructor, working with the Colonel himself for 3 years. He would come in and, he was in at various different times, and then got into operations, human resources, training, all the different phases, which rounded my knowledge of the franchising business as KFC business in particular. And then my last couple of years, I actually worked with the franchisees in helping them run their business. So that prepared me when the opportunity came that I could become a franchisee and know how to run my own business. Yeah.
yeah. And were you one of the first people at that time to actually figure out the airport model to where you were able to grow different to have different brands at airports instead of just on the street? Or
No, there were quite a few people that had been doing this before. There was one other guy that was a professional athlete who I knew, and he's the one that kind of sparked my interest in taking a look at the business.
Mhm.
His name was Brady Keys, and he was a football player, All-American, played pro football, and so he had just gotten into a business over in Orlando, Florida, the Orlando airport, which I went to visit at one time, and it piqued my interest, and so the opportunities came after that. I was probably one of the first, to my knowledge, one of the first former professional athletes to actually become to get into the business, but that business is one with the airport. It's a relationship built as far as getting the opportunity because these are contracts that everybody just can't get in.
Yeah,
So have the opportunity to get in. So there are a lot of guys that, especially African American, who had been involved in concessions business at different airports, and we have the airport minority business council had just started to form. So I was one of the early ones to get an opportunity to go to the different conventions and see what was going on, be able to talk to people and understand where those opportunities lied, and working with some of the master concessionaires like HMS Host, which of Volta is my partner. Have an opportunity with the different airports around the country to propose to get a business opportunity there, which we're in Louisville, Kentucky, Miami, Florida, and Tampa, Florida.
Yeah. So are you guys still as a family, this still a family business where you're still operating franchises?
Yes, yes,
Yep.
yes. We've in the last year and a half, my son George II has become president of the company, and he stepped into the position and leading the business. So my wife and I, we're still involved, and we're still there to assist where needed. But he's leading and doing a great job. So we just like any family, we kind of butt heads occasionally, but at the end of the day, we move forward.
Yeah, that's gotta be pretty cool to be able to work with your kids and your wife and to build this up. I kind of unrelated, but I've been watching that Cowboys documentary on Netflix and how Jerry Jones wanted to work with his kids. And I think,
Yeah,
not many people get to work with your kids and build up a business and a company, and it seems to be kind of a dream, if you're when you're
yeah,
able to do that. And it sounds like you've had a really cool experience and opportunity to be able to do that with your
yeah.
family.
Yeah, it has. Times have changed from the time we first started in 1984 through the 2025, where there's different thought processes on how to succeed and what how to build the infrastructure and so forth. And my son, who started off when he was, I've got a picture of him as 6 year old. As a matter of fact, he just celebrated his 39th year of employment, and he's only 46. So, he was he was breaking chicken and helping out in the back. He and his sister, my daughter is deceased, but she didn't really want to be in the business, but she had the skill set to do it, and wherever she was, she always kind of picked up a side job. She was a model and actress, and my son's been involved ever since he graduated from college. He left there and went right to work in Atlanta and then down to Miami, working in operations there. So, you know,
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, George, just quick transition to your book. I know we talked probably a little over a month ago now, which is crazy. But I was asking, what motivated you to write your book, and you had kind of gone into the story of, you were kind of waiting for a certain time to be able to write it due to kind of some of your
right.
family circumstances where you didn't want to hurt anybody and you wanted to do it the right way. Talk a little bit about that as far as just when you decided to write the book and why you decided to do that.
Well, I was president or chair of the National Basketball Retired Players Association. And, really, prior to that, I was the treasurer and then moved up to the president through the board positions on the board that whole time. And several people that were working with me, they heard some of the different stories, some of the speaking engagements and things that I would do. And you always would hear, well, you ought to write a book. You ought to write a book. You ought to write a book. So one of the local guys talked me into sitting down and going through and doing the transcript and putting a book together, which was The Determined Entrepreneur. That was our first book. And it didn't really do that well. Of course, we didn't have the major publishing company behind us. As I mentioned to you earlier when I was talking about it, is that also there were so many things that happened in my life that affected those families that I speak to. And so I wanted to be careful that if I did it, I wanted to do it professionally and make sure it was handled the correct way. So I finally decided to I have a contract with a publishing company and put this Catch as Catch Can together, and it has been extremely successful. It's been Amazon #1 on Amazon for probably 9 months, and has you don't make any money selling books and so forth, but there's been a lot of book sales that have gone on. We've sold over 1,000 books, and I'm still getting requests.
Yeah.
We sell them here at the office as well as Amazon.com sells them. So, and we have podcast, Catch a Sketch Can podcast on the internet, the YouTube channel, and so forth. That is moving, but it's been received that so many people have come up to me and said that they have stories that very similar, and we're glad to see someone sharing their story and getting it out there to others. And so I like to speak to high school, college kids, groups, community groups about my story, and tell about the number one $1 million restaurant that burned down, and getting putting together a truck and going around selling chicken in the neighborhood,
Yep.
and till we got the restaurant open, and then coming back and doubling the sales. So that
Yeah.
kind of story you don't hear very often, but that's real life. What
Yeah.
actually to happen.
Yeah. I would have to assume is that probably one of the most, I guess, enjoyable things that you do is being able to coach and talk to others just about your story. Because that's kind of, really books for guys. That's kind of why I preach like the importance of reading is because one thing is uh, sometimes there's young men going through some things that and they don't know who to turn to, but I guarantee you there's somebody who's gone through something similar and they've probably written a book about it or written something about
Yeah,
it that they can go
yeah,
read and say, hey, George went through this, he made it through and look how successful he became. I can do the same thing. So it's kind of an
mhm,
encouraging uh I guess, encouraging lesson or just something that someone can grasp onto to let them know, like, hey, they're not the only ones that have gone through tough times, and maybe what they're going through isn't nearly as tough as what you went through. So it kind of puts things in perspective a little bit and can kind of help encourage someone to keep moving forward. But
right.
I'm assuming it brings a lot of just joy to you to be able to talk to young, you were saying high school and college students, just being able to share your story and kind of, let those lessons kind of sit with them.
Yeah, it's a great vehicle that gives me a platform to share so many stories that help shape my life and can help shape others' lives. There's a guy that came to my house today to fix a stair lift, and he was saying that he was having a problem with motivation, and I gave him a copy of the book and told him to read it and gave him a little overview and so forth, and he lit up like a light bulb. And to know someone or to talk to someone who has come from a tough situation and has turned it into a something successful, no matter what that level is. It shows others that they can do it. No matter, I tell people the colonel was 65 years old before he
Yeah.
got started.
Yeah.
So if he can do it, you can do it.
That's
And
right.
so to see the ups and downs and trials and tribulations, and but a steady message of believing in yourself and believing in God, and knowing that if you keep pushing forward and stay positive, you can make something happen. Something good will come out of that. So um, it's um, it's a story that I get a thrill out of speaking to people about, and answering questions,
Yeah.
interaction.
Yeah. Well, George, it's an incredible story, and I'm so glad you wrote a book about it. Because it gave us the opportunity to talk more about it today. And like I said, I was telling a bunch of my friends that you and I were meeting, and they were like, "Oh man, that's so cool! Can't
Yeah.
wait to read the book. Can't wait to listen to the podcast." And so I know if I even me just having a few friends that are that excited, I can't wait to be able to
Yeah.
give your book to more young men when I go and I'm able to talk at high schools and stuff too. I think just you having that athletic background and then going on to be successful in business, I think it's going to give
Mhm.
a lot of young people just an excitement and hope of trying to accomplish similar things. And so, um,
Yeah.
man, George,
And the
just
other
just
good thing
thank
about it too, Chris, is that it speaks to when you're successful, you have an obligation to reach back and help others
That's right.
become successful and help show them the path. One of the probably the most exciting and heartwarming thing that we do, that I do, is through our business to be able to show our employees that if you work hard, that they can be successful. They can own their own business. Working with the athletes, showing them that the basketball and other sports comes to an end someday. You got to
That's
have
right.
something to fall back on, and when they see that you're able to do it and do it the right way. You're practicing what you preach, in other words, because a lot of these young employees, young people, they go into a business and they see people just standing around. They see the managers not caring, because you can feel that kind of stuff. So we're, from our standpoint as a small business, people, that we can show them that that there's more to this than opening the restaurant. You got to get in there and you got to motivate. You got to show your people what to do, and you got to practice what you preach,
That's right.
and make it happen. And you got to treat them right. So
That's right.
to see a lot of our employees who've gone on to be doctors and lawyers and ministers and just all across the board, Chris, that is the really special thing for me.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and that's I love everything about that. I love, kind of like
Yeah,
you, I just love people going on to do awesome things and just cheering them
yeah,
on and seeing that that light bulb clicks. Like, hey, if I work hard and I do what I'm supposed to and I do it the right way, like they
yep,
just keep climbing the ladder and doing incredible things. And I'm sure,
yeah,
yeah, I'm just sure that brings so much joy to you to be able to see somebody do that you've had a part in helping them get there.
yes,
I
mhm,
just I know that feeling means a lot to you, because I just know, even
it
me
does.
hearing it from you,
Yeah.
it just gives me the excitement for those people, and I don't even know them. But
Yep,
no, well, George, again, thank you so much for taking the time to do this podcast. As again, I think so many people are gonna to listen to it, and they're gonna be interested in reading your book, and they're gonna be interested in looking your story up and learning more about you, and just again, they're gonna take something from it that they can apply to their own life, with whatever challenge they're experiencing or whatever they're trying to accomplish. Um, they're gonna be able to say, "Hey, if George can do it, I can do it too."
exactly, exactly.
And so, but no, well, George, thank you so much, and we'll put your book. It'll be on the Books for Guys website. It'll have a link so you can go purchase it, and we'll put it out there for everyone. But no, thanks again, George. It was such a pleasure.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Take
Thanks,
care. Have a
George.
good one. Uh-huh. Bye-bye.